I want you to start CPR, okay?
No, I know for a fact that she's dead because
Do you want to go ahead and try? It might still help, okay?
No, I don't think it'll help. No, I don't think it'll help.
On Why I Killed You TV, we often examine cases that expose the darkest sides of the human mind. This story is one of the most disturbing I've ever covered. It is a story about psychopathy, manipulation, and one of the most heartbreaking examples of a mother's love and forgiveness. At the very center of this case is Charity Lee. From the start, I'll say this: she is one of the rarest kinds of people. Her reach of empathy and forgiveness is unlike anything most of us will ever see. But before we get to that, let's go back to how this nightmare began. On February 5th, 2007, Charity Lee was 34 years old and working a late shift at Buffalo Wild Wings in Abilene, Texas. Around 12:30 a.m., 2 police officers entered the restaurant and asked to speak with her. They had news no parent should ever hear. Her 4-year-old daughter Ella had been hurt. Charity was confused. She had safely left Ella at home with her 13-year-old son, Paris, and a 21-year-old babysitter. How could anything have gone wrong? Still, her instinct told her this was serious.
Is she bleeding anywhere?
Yeah, she's bleeding all over the bed.
And she begged the officers to take her to her daughter. But what she heard next would change her life forever. They told her Ella was dead. In that moment, everything Charity knew was destroyed. Her safe, ordinary world became a nightmare she never imagined she'd face. She immediately asked about her son. Was he okay? Had something happened to him too? The officers looked at her and said words she would never forget. We have him.
Put your hands on her chest and then blow 2 breaths in her mouth, okay?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
At first, nothing made sense. Her daughter was gone, and now the police were telling her that her son had already been arrested. He had admitted to killing his younger sister. There was no one else involved. They knew exactly who had done it. Earlier that night, Paris had called 911. On the call, he first claimed it was an accident, but as the operator asked more questions, he admitted the truth. He had stabbed his sister multiple times. When you hear his voice on that call, he sounds panicked, almost regretful. But investigators later discovered he had been acting. He hadn't tried CPR, though he pretended to follow the dispatcher's instructions. Instead, he walked out of the room and counted out loud, making it sound like he was trying to save Ella, when in reality, he was doing nothing. When police arrived, they found Ella lying on her side with terrible injuries. She had been stabbed in the back, yet there was little blood on the floor, clear evidence no attempt at CPR had been made. Paris admitted later that he had faked it. This coldness set the tone for everything else investigators would uncover. After brutally killing his sister, Paris didn't immediately call 911. Instead, he phoned a friend and spoke for 6 minutes. Only after that call, and after waiting another 2 minutes, did he finally dial for help. His behavior showed calculation, not panic. The crime was not an accident. It was premeditated, deliberate, and cruel. And when Paris finally explained why he did it, the truth was even more horrifying. Paris didn't kill Ella because he hated her. In fact, people who knew them said he loved her. She adored him and wanted to follow him everywhere. To others, he looked like a protective big brother. But his motive wasn't about her. It was about their mother. Paris admitted that killing Ella was the most devastating way he could hurt Charity. He reasoned that if he killed his mother, her suffering would only last a few minutes. But if he killed Ella, the pain would last a lifetime. He even said that in one act, he had taken both of Charity's children. Ella was dead, and he himself would spend his life in prison. When Charity went to the police station to see him that night, Paris mocked her. He reminded her that she once said she could only kill someone if they hurt her children. Then he looked at her and asked, "So what are you going to do now?" "I killed your child." Paris was not an ordinary 13-year-old. He had an IQ of 141, placing him in the top fraction of a percent in intelligence. Teachers said he was the brightest student they had ever taught, with a vocabulary equal to that of a college graduate. But behind his brilliance was something darker. Paris admitted to having violent thoughts since the age of 8. Experts later described him as a narcissist with clear psychopathic traits. On the night of the murder, after convincing the babysitter to leave, Paris carried out a deliberate and sustained attack on Ella. The autopsy revealed she had been beaten, choked, sexually assaulted, and stabbed 17 times. Many of the stab wounds were shallow, Mint says, designed to prolong her suffering. She tried to fight back, as shown by defensive wounds on her hands and arms. But she was only 4 years old. Paris later described stabbing her as feeling like stabbing a marshmallow. He admitted he had planned the killing for some time, originally intending to also murder his mother when she came home. The only reason he didn't, he said, was because killing Ella had been harder than he expected, and he doubted he could overpower an adult. Investigators and psychologists later concluded that Paris's supposed panic during the 911 call was nothing more than an act. His lack of remorse showed in everything he did afterward. He had chosen to kill, and he enjoyed the suffering it caused. In court, Paris pled guilty to capital murder and was sentenced to 40 years in prison, the maximum sentence for a juvenile in Texas. He served his early years in a juvenile facility before being transferred to adult prison, where he remains. He will be eligible for parole in 2027. Despite everything, Charity visits him. She has forgiven him for what he did, though she admits it is an ongoing process. She says she hates his actions, but she cannot bring herself to hate him. She even founded the Ella Foundation in her daughter's memory, dedicated to supporting families affected by violence. Still, experts warn that Paris remains dangerous. Some believe that if he is ever released, Charity may have to change her identity and go into hiding to protect herself and her youngest child, Phoenix. This case forces us to ask hard questions. Can someone like Paris ever be rehabilitated? Or is he destined to remain a threat forever? And what does forgiveness really mean when the crime is this horrific? For Charity, forgiveness is survival. She says her son may be a psychopath, but he is still her son. She continues to live with the unimaginable, loving one child who murdered the other. This is one of the darkest cases I've ever shared, and it leaves us with questions that may never have answers. But it shows us both the terrifying depths of cruelty and the extraordinary reach of a mother's love. Thank you for watching Why I Killed You TV. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss another true crime story.
They hate you.